एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में, मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी, ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानपुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
Friends, a very good morning to all of you. I welcome and thank you all for coming on today's webinar this Thursday morning. I'm Sonya Chowdhry. I'm the Managing Director at Franchise India. In the next 30 odd minutes, we'll talk about starting your own business. But before I do that, friends, I'll also like to give a little background about our company, Franchise India. And I understand a lot of you or most of you would have maybe gone through some businesses or been part of some part of our company before you came on the webinar. So Franchise India, friends, is Start Your Own Business specialist. And Franchise India is a 25-year-old enterprise where we started our journey with one big vision of making India self-reliant through entrepreneurship. And democratization of entrepreneurship has become a mission, with our company. And that's what we're living for the last 25 odd years. Now, with a country like India, which is fondly called as a shopkeeper nation, we have almost every home, I would say, with an aspiration, somebody in every home who has an aspiration of owning or starting a business at some point of time in their life. And realizing this 25 years back, and today a country like India with million broker in real estate and similar number in stock investment advisors, still we don't have such number in advising people on buying a business. And that was the gap that we saw 25 years back as well. Now, when we look at smaller cities don't have a high paying job opportunity, right? So if we talk about cities like Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Kolkata, tier 1 cosmopolitan cities, these cities would still give an opportunity of, getting a good job for yourself. But when you go to smaller cities, franchising comes as a big rescue because people who want to do, a job would either have to shift to a bigger city. And if you look at how franchising has also flourished in the last, I would say 25 odd years, a lot of demand apart from the tier 1 cities have come also from the smaller cities. And if you look at the startup ecosystem today, 49% of startup in India are coming from tier 2 and tier 3, which itself gives a big validation of the potential and spirit of entrepreneurship in a country like India. So being an investor-centric, franchise-focused company, this became the very purpose of the Franchise India and was also the foundation of a company. And our platform of Franchise India has been working with prospective business buyers or franchisees like yourself to research franchise opportunities through our platform of Franchise India, which includes our own website, which is franchiseindia.com, which has nearly 16,000 opportunities listed on the website. And a million people come on this website to discover these opportunities. We do about 120 exhibitions in 1 year. These are bigger exhibitions, of which Pragati Maidan, which is the biggest of all the shows that we do, brings about 40,000 potential business buyers who come in, search of business opportunities. So we help business buyers like you to research these opportunities through our media marketing platform. At the same time, our advisory team, also helps and works with you to evaluate these business options and equally educate you and help you learn on how to select an opportunity or a business. So while millions of business buyers, I would say, have trusted the platform of Franchise India to research these options from a smaller investment to a bigger investment, from a unit franchisee to a master or a multi-unit franchisee, we also had the privilege of working with about 1 lakh people who in fact we worked with and handheld them through the entire process of buying a business and gave them guided solutions where we combined our industry knowledge and experience that we have gathered over these years. And at Franchise India, we also understand working with people so closely and also seeing a lot of businesses successful and failing. That entrepreneur journey is not easy. It requires a lot of planning on many aspects, be it timelines, be it the investment, be it your time. So that's where, we actually come in. And as a franchise consultant, we also carry a huge responsibility in helping a business buyer in making that right decision or informed decision of buying a business. And while it is difficult to bring absolute accuracy in the perfect fitment in terms of what choice of brand should I go ahead, financial expectation, commercial terms, but with carefully but we actually follow a tried and tested methodology, which actually helps us in bringing the best possible match. So we take a very holistic approach on the ROI, growth in the industry, risk, reduction of risk in the investment, which again is a mix of many other things, including your operational expense forecast, your capital planning, the competition analysis, support from the company that you have selected, and most importantly, the legal agreement and terms and exit of the agreement, because that's very, very critical part of our relationship, because India has no law, so to say, on franchising like America. But we work on a British contract, which means everything which becomes a part of the contract becomes a binding between the partners. So a franchise consultant in our companies, we work and take a research-based approach so that we can bring in a non-biased advice, and we never base our recommendation based on our own personal preferences or experience. So friend, there's a small presentation which I like to take you through, and I like to also say that today when I meet a lot of business buyers like you, I understand that the information solely is not something that you're seeking, right? Rather, it is more insights that you need. And a lot of people who even come to us, 60% of their buying cycle is already progressed, before they even approach somebody to help them buy a business. But the problem is that they find it difficult to comprehend. There is so much of information today which is available, be it our events, be it our magazines, and otherwise also on various platforms, companies advertising. So it's very difficult to comprehend out of so much of information. How do I narrow down the interest? So which means that you need personalized solutions. And this was the reason why the entire Investor Advantage product was built by us, where we take you through some of the important assessment tools which every business buyer requires to understand and also follow before buying a business. So I'll take you through a small presentation, friends, and I'll request all of you to make our session interactive. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen. I'll be more than happy to answer that. And I'll try to use a mix of Hindi, English, some comments which I see. So guys, आप लिखते रहिए जो भी आपके questions होंगे, मैं कोशिश करूंगी सारे questions आपको answer करने के लिए. Before getting started, I'd like to start first and foremost understanding franchising. Right? So if we look at franchising, if you look at entrepreneurship, so to say, and opportunities of entrepreneurship are many. You have a choice, आप अपना startup शुरू कर सकते हैं, या कोई existing business है उसको आप खरीद सकते हैं, और एक third choice आपके पास होती है जहाँ पे आप एक नाम खरीद सकते हैं, tried and tested model आप खरीद सकते हैं, and this is called franchising. When we look at franchising, it is a very, very big impact market. And why I say बहुत बड़ी impact market है, क्योंकि ये today, everything that is being consumed by us, जो भी आप consume करते हैं हर रोज, चाहे वो रेस्टोरेंट में खाना है या सर्विसेज हैं जो आप किसी जिम में लेते हैं या आप एक सैलून में लेते हैं, and even quick commerce companies like Zepto, Blinkit, hotels, hospitals, education institutions, coaching institutions, ये सारी जो भी brands हैं, companies हैं, they're all using franchising as a way of expansion. और फ्रेंचाइजिंग जो है हर एक सेक्टर को कट करता है, कोई ऐसा सेगमेंट नहीं है कि बस इसी इंडस्ट्री या कैटेगरी में फ्रेंचाइजिंग होती है, इट कट्स अक्रॉस एवरी सेगमेंट. एंड इफ यू लुक एट द ग्लोबल साइज ऑफ दिस इंडस्ट्री, ग्लोबली अगर सिस्टम सेल्स हम समझे फ्रेंचाइजिंग में, तकरीबन 4.5 ट्रिलियन डॉलर का ये साइज है इन टर्म्स ऑफ जीडीपी ग्लोबल, which means that it is bigger than the GDP of India. India में opportunity काफी बड़ी है. Last 15 odd years, I have seen a very, very big growth, and India is the second largest franchise market in the world after America. And we are almost about $80 billion, in terms of our size. And there has been a very progressive growth, which is almost about 30 to 40% every year. And a lot of this growth, I would also say, is attributed to people who are buying the business for the first time. I'm sure a lot of you would agree, जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे, or maybe generation before, हमारे parents भी and prior, buying a business was not something which was expected out of everyone, right? हर एक आदमी नहीं सोचता था एक business शुरू करने का. There was only community of business owners या businessmen जिनके आगे बच्चे business शुरू करते थे और continue करते थे. But anybody who was already in a job, उनके पास सिर्फ एक ही थॉट होता था कि एक अच्छा नौकरी मिल जाए और गवर्नमेंट जॉब, राइट? बट द लास्ट आई वुड से 20 odd years, this has started to change. I see today a lot of people who come and buy business which is almost this community जो पहली बार business खरीदती है. It's about 35 to 40% today in India. So that's how, friends, this industry is growing. And also, if you look at the environment that we are currently in, सारा का सारा environment आपके आसपास branded होता जा रहा है. चाहे आप कोई services consume कर रहे हैं, चाहे आप product consume कर रहे हैं, most likely that is coming from a I would say a franchise outlet. And as we are moving from unorganized economy to organized one, जो GDP का share है franchising का, this will continue to increase. Currently, we are almost about 2% of our GDP. That's what franchise contributes to the economy. But this number is going to increase as the share of organized retail would increase, and both in terms of product and services. So I'll put a small presentation, friends, and I'll request if you want to ask any questions, please do that. Sure. So I see some questions, where I see, Chandra Shah ji are पूछ रहे हैं, before introduction of any brand, what are the parameters company should be checked, Franchise India checked? Okay, maybe you can elaborate on that question. I'll take some part of that in my presentation of how to assess a right business opportunity. Anonymously, options not working. I don't understand, Chandra ji, what you're trying to say. अगर आप Q&A box में आप लिख सके, whatever you want to say, maybe I can read that out. Or friends, before I get started with the presentation, I like to understand all my audience which have joined in. And by the names, it looks like I have an audience which has joined, in fact, from Pan India. So I'll try to use a mix of both English and Hindi, while I have some request of using Hindi, but I try to do a mix of both. So friends, I'd like to ask you first and foremost, anytime we want to start something important in our life, जो भी हमारे जिंदगी का important milestone होता है, we always start working backwards. एक timeline, एक शायद साल या एक तारीख हम decide करते हैं, and we start working backwards. And starting a business is one such important milestone. This is not a decision that we take every day, every year. जिंदगी में शायद एक बार, दो बार, maximum 3 बार आप शायद एक business आप run करेंगे. This is not something that you do very often. So when you want to start a business, there's a lot of thought process which goes behind, and you always start with the first and foremost thing, which I called, that sensitivity towards the timeline, right? So that's my first question to all of you. If you can put in the chat box, in the Q&A box, अगर आप सब लिख सकते हैं, आपके लिए वो timeline क्या है? आप कब business शुरू करना चाहते हैं? And that timeline can be small. Maybe somebody would want to start a business maybe within a month's time. Somebody would want to take a little longer, say 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. But whatever the time is, we always have that at the back of our mind. And that is what I would like to know. How many of you have already decided what is the timeline for you? Second, my question, and maybe you can answer that together, is your interest in a specific industry or a category. If you already decided what industry or category you are interested, please लिख सकते हैं. And third is the city of your interest. So please go ahead and use the Q&A box. आप 3 जवाब आप दीजिए. क्या आपका timeline है business शुरू करने का? Second, what is the timeline? Like 15 days, 30 days, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, जो भी आपका timeline है आप लिखिए. दूसरा industry में आपका interest किस में रखते हैं? And third is the city of your interest. Great. I like to welcome you, Mr. Lakshman. We're looking at starting a business in 3 months time. Something in the food segment is what your interest is, and in Hyderabad. Wonderful, Lakshmanji. I think food is one such segment. And rather, I started my own career, doing a franchisee of a brand called Dosa Plaza. So almost about 20 years back, franchising day up, we took a right of a company called Dosa Plaza, and I used to do the franchise expansion of that brand. And I've seen, all through the years, my own more than 20 years of experience in franchising. Food is one such industry which gets a lot of response from youngsters, especially. And great. So Lakshmanji, we have a lot of options in the food industry, starting from maybe a cloud kitchen to a delivery to a fine dining to a casual one. Please let me know your investment range and the category again in the food. Our teams, we have a big team in Hyderabad, and I would also request friends, because I see you have joined from a lot of locations. I would like to say that Franchise India has its own team, our own feet on the street in almost 90 plus cities in the country. So likelihood है जहाँ से आप लिख रहे हैं, मेरा local team advisor उस city में होंगे. So I would also request that if we can invite you for a one-to-one meeting, because this session is not very long and one-to-one discussion is not something, but I can understand your interest and actually align that with the local teams. आप मिल सकते हैं. Great. Lakshmanji, I've captured your interest, and I'll also request if you share your details, and rather after the webinar, somebody in my Bangalore, Hyderabad team, in fact, can get in touch with you. So I'll put a small presentation, and I'll like to give you a little introduction also on that. So friends, we have created this holistic approach, like I mentioned, and we call that assessment tools, which is your fitment of buying a business, because we understand, buying a business is a completely new challenge. It is a new learning opportunity. It is a new experience, which is unlike anything else that you might have experienced in your life. However, successful investing is not easy. After selling, I would say, so many businesses in these 20 odd years, I still see and say that, investment and successful investment is not something which is very easy. And that's why we created this framework to help you take a qualitative analysis of potential scenarios, insights on what options one can adopt. And this is a very integrated, holistic approach where we have talked about, 5 assessment tools, which I'll put on the screen. And even if you want to do an assessment yourself, this is something we recommend. But we also work with every investor who perhaps needs our advice in doing that. So these are 5 assessment tools, starting with your own self-assessment, because I personally feel anything that you want to do in life, it all starts with your own self, what you want to do in your life. And second is industry that you want to get in. How do you assess the industry? Third is market, your own market, your city where you want to open. Fourth is peer, which is the competition assessment. And then is the company, the brand assessment. These are 5 assessment tools. So what we did is, I don't know, guys, just let me know if you can see my next screen. So on this screen, you see there are 25 points that we have created. So under these 5 assessment tools, and we've also created a very simple formula. So if you put a tick mark under these 5 assessment tools, and your score out of 25 is 20 or more, then the opportunity that you have selected is excellent, great. If your overall score is 15 to 20, it is good. But if your score is anything less than 15, then we do not advise you to go ahead with that opportunity, right? Well, so there can be various scenarios, but these were 5 assessment tools, and these 25 further points kind of elaborate and take almost everything into consideration to help you take a analysis of what kind of business to adopt. So starting with your own self-assessment, like I mentioned, this is the most important tool for any aspiring entrepreneur, and spend a lot of time with yourself to understand what business is, or what is that you want out of your life. So what you do in this stage is you align your life goals and your business goals. So unless your life goals are aligned with the business goals, I don't think you would be able to analyze what opportunities to go ahead. So that to me is the very first point. And understand what your mindset of entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship can mean different to different people. It might be very different to me, to what it means to everybody out here. So understand what entrepreneurship means to you, what kind of skill set do you possess, and be it your own education, your profession, your experience, and most importantly, also the risk appetite that you have, because doing a job and doing a business of your own are two different things. You will still have, even if you take a franchise business, there would be some iota of risk which would be involved in any business that you undertake. So second is financial goal, which means you need to understand your timelines to achieve that financial goal. And I'll explain that with an example today. Any investment, friends, that you would do, there are only three fundamental goals of any investment. कोई भी आप investment करते हैं, उसके तीन fundamental goals होते हैं. First goal is safety. Second is income. Third is growth. तो पहला गोल हमारा है कि I want to make an investment that gives me complete security and safety. कोई रिस्क नहीं लेना है, मेरे को safe investment चाहिए, right? दूसरा गोल आपका होता है I want some income from the investment I make. Third goal could be growth. I'm looking at sweating out the capital I invest, but I'm looking at a very high growth. Now, all these three fundamental goals would also have a proportionate risk and reward, a structure. So when I say I'm looking at safety, as my fundamental goal of investment, I'm also saying that I'm looking at a business which is low on risk and low on reward, or low on return. There cannot be equation of investment which I'm doing, which is completely safe, and I have high rewards and high return. So a safety would mean that I'm looking at safe business, no risk, and also low returns. Income would mean a moderate return and a moderate risk. Any investment which you would do, especially for growth, would always come with a high risk and high return rewards. That is the only equation. I've not seen a business which can come and say that I am a business which you get, which is most safe to be invested, and the highest returns and no risk. So any such business I have not seen. I have explored, worked with few thousand companies in the last more than 2 decades. I have not seen any such opportunity come in. While I've seen a lot of, some days back, I saw an ad in the Economic Times. This was almost a month back, and where the company guaranteed some return with just 1 lakh of investment. And so beware of any such communication, no matter what media these companies are using to reach out to sometimes vulnerable investors. So your financial goal is something which is very important. Third is the capital, which means how much assets you currently hold, what liabilities you have. And capital means that whatever investment you're doing, at least 50% जो भी investment है आपका 20 लाख है, 50 लाख है, आप कम से कम उसमें से 50% अपना खुद का capital आप उसमें लगाएं. And even if you have to take a loan, it should not cross more than 50%. And the reason for this is the cost of capital, right? So which is COC as we call. The cost of capital is sometimes very, very high. And आपका business कई बार वो cost of capital को sustain नहीं कर पाता है, which makes the viability of a business very, very weak. So understand your liabilities, understand the assets, and don't expose too much on loans. Your involvement of time is very important, especially when we talk about franchise business. Having said that, I will also like to extend that and say, while there are businesses, a lot of people say, I want to do a business, आप पैसे लगवा लीजिए, but time नहीं लगा सकते. I want a FOCO model, right? So there do exist companies which offer a franchisee-owned company operated model, but there are not many companies who would do that, right? And we should also, most importantly, understand why company would operate and give me a revenue share or a minimum guarantee while I just make the investment, right? So typically when companies do a franchisee-owned company operated model, so one reason is a big reason why some of the established companies do that. I have worked with companies like Tata Croma. Tata Croma was never into franchising. Only 2 years back, they started franchising. And they do a franchisee-owned company operated model. The reason is because their format is little complex, and when I say format is complex, because it's a huge 8,000 to 12,000 square feet of areas required. They have a few thousand SKUs, in their outlet and store, which is very complex for a franchise partner to understand. And hence, a company like Tata, which is as big as them, they do not want to dilute the experience of the end consumer. So they want to retain the entire operations in their hand. And they take care of entire expenses also, जो भी rent है, salary है, वो सारा company takes care of that. While a franchise partner can investment typically फोको में थोड़ी सी ज्यादा होती है। आप कोई भी छोटा फॉर्मेट खोलेंगे 15, 20, 25, 30 लाख का, उसमें फ्रेंचाइजी और कंपनी ऑपरेटेड मॉडल वर्क नहीं करता, सस्टेन भी नहीं होता है, राइट? So only in big formats where the companies have operational complexity. It also is true in case of five-star hotels. They all franchise, but company that takes care of the entire management. And companies like Tim Horton, they are in India now, while the entire investment operations are taken care by the company, but they would be happy to find any strategic partners who might have an access to a great real estate, right? So sometimes companies look at that where you have a strategic fitment. Aapka real estate aisa hai jo company ko chahiye. McDonald's used to sign up real estate deals with a lot of investors who possess that real estate where they wanted. So companies do that kind of structuring. Second, a lot of international brands, like the brands which I mentioned, they also do it because there's a sensitivity to the name which is attached, and then they don't want to, expose their end consumer and want to ensure that the experience is seamless all across. The other reason why companies also do franchisee and company operated model is also as a go-to market. A lot of companies, when they want to enter market and they want to establish a few, proof of concepts, and they might be new to that market and they don't want to expose their franchisee to a bigger risk, they take care of the entire operations. They also give some kind of minimum guarantee to their partners. So only in these cases, company do a franchisee and company operated format. But one thing is important to note, the investments are not small. Yesterday, we launched a company called Tremod, right? So Tremod is a leading footwear company. आप airports पे देखेंगे, हिंदुस्तान के जो भी top malls हैं, वहाँ पे आपको ये brand दिखेगा, both in MBOs पे भी मिलेगा, which is large format stores, and also as exclusive outlet. And for the very first time, they have launched a franchisee-owned company-operated, बल्कि franchise model ही पहली बार उन्होंने launch किया है, and they launched on a franchisee-owned company-operated model. The investment is about 1 crore, but the company is giving you minimum guarantee. जो भी आपका investment है, उसके ऊपर company आपको तकरीबन 12% आपको minimum guarantee देती है, या आपको revenue share मिलता है. दोनों में से जो भी ज़्यादा होता है, that's something which a franchise partner gets. Right? So that's about this. And then lastly is your fallback plan, which we always advise any investment that you want to make, always have a fallback plan. I'm seeing a lot of questions, friends. I'll maybe take it towards the end. And maybe I can read some as I read them now for you. So welcome, Koshish Kohli ji. You are from Bombay and you want to start a business in 90 days. I'm still not decided on the sector. Great. Koshish ji, मैं आपको recommend करूँगी, if you can, get us or, we can get a meeting with you. Our teams are there in Technopolis Park in Bombay. That's where we sit. Somebody can definitely come and have a meeting with you. And that's very important because it is a decision that is not taken very often. And we would be able to brainstorm the opportunities and help you narrow down. Kashi, is this applicable for any and all industry? I don't know what exactly you mean by that. But yes, franchising हर एक industry में prevalent है. Okay, Raji, आप बोल रहे मेरी slide change नहीं हो रही है. So guys, I don't know. Can you see my slide or let me share that once again with you. I hope you can see the 25 points. If anybody can just say, okay, yes, I would know if you can see. And this is already a full screen. I hope you can see now. Guys, please confirm me because I don't know, because to me it is visible, but sometimes it does not show to the viewers. Great. Thank you, Kashi. So these are the slides. This is what I was talking about. So I've covered self-assessment. Second, industry को assess कैसे करना चाहिए. So these are 4 things. We look at the opportunity, how big the opportunity is, growth prospects क्या है. Sometimes you look at an opportunity and say कि चलो कुछ महीने के लिए interesting नहीं लग रहा है. That's what happened in COVID. A lot of people, were not interested in certain businesses like school, preschool. उनको लगा कि नहीं अभी तो कोई school नहीं जा रहे हैं. But all people, all progressive companies were actually, even in retail, progressive companies were actually scouting for the right locations. They were locking the properties. So when you look at any business opportunity, आपको सबसे पहले देखना है, is that opportunity viable for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 5 साल, 10 साल, 15 साल, अगर वो business या opportunity की demand रहने वाली है market में, that's how your outlook should be on that opportunity. And then obviously is demand या supply में gap है. कई बार लगता है कि बहुत सारे outlets already exist करते हैं. Why should I go and open another outlet? अगर वो differentiating product या solution नहीं देता है brand, then obviously you should not open. But sometimes there's a demand and supply gap, which means that which could be in solution. हो सकता है जो opportunity आप लेके जा रहे हैं, a better technology, product offering can be great, maybe pricing is optimized. I'm not saying it has to be cheaper or higher, but this is the demand and the supply gap, which can be both in solution, service, or the product itself. Then we have innovation. Today, any company which is relevant is successful and sustainable. हमने 2-3 साल COVID के देखा, a lot of companies which were not innovating, their businesses were not able to survive. So look at companies, how agile they are, their pace of innovation, and how they're able to keep pace with the changing trends. जो भी innovation हम आज करते हैं वो कल relevant नहीं होती. So understand how they are actually keeping pace with that. And then is your market assessment. जिस market में आप खोलना चाहते हैं उसका need gap which I talked about, target आपका group क्या है, consumer क्या demand कर रहा है, क्या consume कर रहा है, regulations and location. These are two important things which I will talk about, because every state has regulations. ये regulations जो हैं आपका state subject भी है, आपका center subject भी है. So electric vehicle के ऊपर जो guidelines हैं, your drug license policies, your liquor license policies. So every state has different regulations. So you need to understand what your guidelines of the state, talk about. Sometimes some businesses are not viable to be run. जैसे कई states में, including, some states in South, जहाँ पे आपको liquor का license लेना बहुत expensive पड़ता है, right? In some place not even available. अगर कोई चला रहा है वहाँ पे आप उसको ट्रांसफर करा सकते हैं in your company name, या कोई premise पे अगर मिला हुआ है वो आप कर सकते हैं. So वो सब समझना बहुत जरूरी है. And then obviously the location is always very, very important criteria and will always be. चाहे आपका business cloud kitchen है, चाहे वो आपका QSR है, location will always be playing a very important role. And the only one rule which I recommend investors to look at, or franchisees or business owners to look at, आप जो भी brand या opportunity आप select करते हैं उसका जो भी next आपका दूसरा तीसरा competition है. When I say second, third competition, not necessarily the top brand in the country or the top international brand or the national player. जो भी आपका अपने city में, शहर में, region में दूसरा तीसरा आपका competition है, look at what locations they are present in that market, and from these locations, which are the locations they get the highest throughput or efficiency or performance, and go and open next to them. Then is your peer competition. So peer is the competition advantage that you have peer to peer, where you compare your opportunity that you have selected versus some of the other competition that is available in the market, and which includes obviously the penetration of the company, performance क्या है, because penetration can be one thing, हो सकता है बहुत जगह already available, but how are they performing is something which is very, very important to be considered. Sometimes a lot of companies with many outlets also don't perform well. Sometimes a new entrant in the market, their performance can be great. So criteria of selecting a brand does not mean it has to be a 30-year-old company, a 100-year-old company, but look at the performance and their commitment, to their franchise partners and to the business. Also look at the barrier to entry. A barrier to entry technology ho sakta hai. Maybe the brand you selected has a great technology, data intelligence, which maybe the others don't have. And obviously your product offering differentiation is something that is very, very important to be looked at. And finally, the brand assessment. How do I assess what brand is right for us, right? So credibility of the people behind, they have a legacy. So like I said, legacy does not mean a 50, 100-year-old company. Today, जितने भी unicorns आप देख रहे हैं, IPOs जो companies कर रही हैं, ये कोई 50-100 साल का पुरानी company नहीं है. These are all unicorns, which we have started to hear only, few years back. So understand their commitment to their brand. SOPs are very important part of making a, franchise outlet successful. So a lot of the companies are not able to even train their franchise partners on the SOPs. So ensure every franchisee which you're taking, if the company has a standardized process to operate day-to-day operation, this is typically a manual which the company has to give you, and also equally train you on that manual. And then is your operating cost reinvestment, which is, your day-to-day expenses. And operating cost, one thing which is very important to understand when you're looking at any franchise opportunity, I always hear franchise partners negotiating ki franchise fees aap kam kara dijiye, margins improve kara dijiye. Nobody even understands your operating cost. Mera kharcha kya aane wala hai, mera jo rent hai, उसके हिसाब से सेल कितनी निकलनी चाहिए, ये रेशियो कोई समझता नहीं है. पर से स्क्वायर फीट एफिशिएंसी क्या होनी चाहिए एक आउटलेट की. People don't even ask these questions to their brand. और अगर वो ये business कर रहे हैं, if anybody is doing, for example, a food business or a retail business, always ask the company आपका rent से ratio, rent to sale ratio कितना होना चाहिए, and in your market, in your location, is that something that you will be able to procure or not? So sometimes we say the rental is very high, sustain nahi karega. So that's a wrong thing of qualifying that location. You need to understand what my throughput can be in that location. Understand the other companies also, similar companies which are operating, and क्या वो sales यहाँ से निकालती हैं. So operating cost is very important because ये ऐसा खर्चा है जो आपका हर साल बढ़ता है. आपका rent escalate करेगा, आपकी salaries बढ़ेंगी. Even your cost of input, जो आपका cost है raw material, उसकी cost भी हर साल बढ़ती है. So cost of operations, reinvestment could mean investment in stock. It could mean refurbishment. आपके outlet में refurbishment की requirement हो सकती है. So कितने साल में वो करनी है, उसके ऊपर क्या cost company ने peg कर रखी है. Understand that. And margins and ROI, this is something which I would say is the most ignored or misunderstood term. People feel that companies which higher margins are good business models. Companies which don't give a higher margins are not good companies, or they don't have a sustainable model. But margins, if it has to be actually even looked at, you have to look at apple to apple. आप एक industry में जैसे अगर हम food की भी बात करते हैं तो उसमें quick service restaurant, a fine dining restaurant, a cloud kitchen, इनका सबका margin is very very different. Like bottom ठीक है आपका 20% के आसपास बचता है सब में, but your food cost is different in a QSR, it is different in a fine dining. So all those aspects are very very important to be understood. Second, even an integrated operator, somebody who has access to manufacturing, उनके margins comparatively आपके better होते हैं. Right, so these are some areas to be understood. Some businesses might be high on value. अगर ज्वेलरी की बात करते हैं मार्जिन कम है बट उसका वैल्यू ज्यादा है. आप गोल्ड बेचते हैं, डायमंड बेचते हैं तो वैल्यू प्रोडक्ट का ज्यादा होता है. So you play on the value. Some businesses again can be low margin, like maybe a kirana store, right? कोई grocery store है. But it plays on volume. So it is important अगर आप cloud kitchen खोलते हैं या कोई grocery store खोलते हैं, ऐसे लोकेशन पे खोलना चाहिए जहाँ पे density बहुत ज़्यादा high हो, because only if you have a big volume then the business becomes viable. So that's very important. And then obviously your legal terms, agreement, like I mentioned, are very, very important. We have a separate team at Franchise India that works with the franchise partners to help them in their vetting of agreements. And finally, the training and marketing support is something which is very, very crucial in making your outlet successful. Ensure when you do training with the brand, always have somebody in your own team. It could be your family, inner circle, who should also participate in the training. And give somebody and you can split the job, and somebody takes care of marketing, somebody takes care of operations. If you have a big team in your family or friends and you want them to be part, split these functions and make them specialize in their respective domains. And lastly is hedging of the risk. How do we hedge the risk? Because every investor who looks at making an investment, the sole reason is I want to reduce my risk of investment. And companies have come out with the innovative models today, like I talked about, Tremod. They're offering a minimum guarantee and a franchise-owned company-operated model. A lot of companies give you a stock correction. Agar aapka stock nahi bikta hai, company would, take that stock back and give you a replacement of that stock. So yesterday we launched a brand called Lux On. There's a brand by On. I'm sure you must have seen their TV commercials, and they have a very interesting model. It's a very low investment brand, 200-300 square feet. It's a very scalable model, I would say. You don't need to be in the mall. You don't need to be in the high street. कोई भी अच्छी market जहाँ पे आपका captive audience आता है, वहाँ पे ये brand चल सकता है. And this brand is already available in MBOs. It's a part of Lux Industries. They need only 200-300 square feet. They are even very, very flexible. अगर कोई kiosk भी खोलना चाहते हैं, kiosk भी आप mall के atrium में आप खोल सकते हो. Where the investment starts as small as 5 lakhs, including the cost of the kiosk and the inventory. If you want to open a bigger outlet, 200-300 square feet ka, then almost 12-13 lakhs is the inventory plus the cost of interiors which the company charges. But इसमें stock पूरा de-risk का रखा. आपको कोई भी stock ऐसा है जो नहीं जाता है, company helps you to liquidate the stock. So every company would have their own terms and ways of hedging the risk of the investor. Understand before you take that decision. Wait. So friend, this is what we follow. I think you can see my screen because it doesn't seem to be. Yeah. So this is the process we follow, which is information, evaluation, negotiation, and closure. ये 4 stages हैं एक business खरीदने की, right? So these are 4 important stages of buying a business, and our teams at Franchise India work with every potential business buyer through these 4 stages. Information stages where I understand, at Franchise India, it is not that I work with few thousand companies and I give you data of these companies to reach out and let me know what company you like and we get your deal. But this is based on 4 fitments, our evaluation and even sharing of the information, which starts with a strategic fit, which means maybe your profile, your interest, maybe the property that you own, uspe kya chal sakta hai. O stands for operational fit, your time to be involved in the business. M stands for market fit, aapki market ke hisab se what options are relevant. We also take into consideration brands rollout in the said region. If a brand ka rollout nahi, you might look for an opportunity, but brand is not interested to maybe scale in that region. So market fitment and financial fitment are 4 things that we consider before even options are shared with you. So random options nahi hote ki ye 5 company mein kaam karte hain, aap dekh lijiye. But when we look at evaluation under these 4 fitments, then I know exactly kaun se 5 ya 6 aisi companies hain, which is very close to your fitment of finance, your time involvement, your market, and your own profile. And then followed by this, we start organizing your tri-party meetings. Agar aap koi outlet visit karna chahte hain, when I say tri-party meetings, this is done with the leadership team of the company, the decision makers in the company. Outlet tour karna chahte hain, center tour aap karna chahte hain, even some references of their existing stores, going to some of their stores, sitting there and getting understanding of business at the macro level. All that is something which our teams at Franchise India facilitate for every investor, followed by agreement and LOI sign up. So these are 4 things that we do where we participate with you on that. And I don't know if you can see my next screen. So we work with you, friends, on these 10 areas where we work with you 1 hour in self-evaluation of yourself, which helps me define what opportunities we can offer you. Second, we also work with you. We give you 1 hour in industry selection, giving you insights on that industry. Because it can also go wrong. The industry is great, but ho sakta hai aapki market abhi taiyar nahi hai. Maybe demand itni badi nahi hai, right? So we put about 1 hour to give you advice on industry selection. Third, we work with you in arranging at least 10 discovery days. So kam se kam 10 discovery days hain, jo maine aapko bataya, center visit hai, meeting with the companies, where we take these 10 brands based on the fitments which I talked about. And we also work with you in legal. 30 minutes is minimum that we spend there. But biggest time which we spend with every business buyer is structuring of a deal, which is the most important area. And that's where a bigger value addition happens at Franchise India, where we work with you minimum of 2 hours to structure the deal. Every deal is not similar. Har ek business ke apne nuances hote hain. They might have a different go-to market for a different region. A lot of companies might be big in certain region, but they have a different go-to market when they sometimes go out. So structuring of deal is something which is very, very important part of deal making. I, in fact, meet a lot of investors who say, I've selected the brand. Please help kar do sign karne mein, structure kar dijiye aap deal. So that's where, we come in. And friends, anybody from this session who actually wants to meet, I'll also put details of our hotline number and the email ID, and also my email ID. Anybody who wants to reach out can reach out on those numbers. This is something because at Franchise India, we respect everybody's time and appreciate the time that is put in, and equally expect that our time is something which is also respected. While for everybody else who's just shopping around and wanting options, we have a lot of free options. आप website पे जा सकते हैं Franchise India की, वहाँ पे जितने मर्जी options आप देखना चाहें आप देख सकते हैं. We have a lot of free data which is available on the Facebook page of Franchise India, on YouTube page of Franchise India, where almost more than 1,200 companies, as I speak, would be presenting their business models. All that is something which is available in free library that we have for every investor. But for somebody who's serious, who wants the entire guidance, a guided solution, this is what is a one-time fee, which is a small fee that we charge to ensure that I'm speaking to somebody who's serious about buying a business and I can commit my time. And then there's a fee that comes to us, which is post the deal has taken place, it has been signed, so which becomes a brokerage. So that's what we do, friends. I will also put some details in the chat box. Anybody who wants to reach out, it's 9717683838. This is our hotline number. You can also WhatsApp me 880049. You can see that in the chat box. I will also put my email ID. Anybody who wants to write to me can also write to me on this. And anybody who wants to get a meeting done with our teams regionally can WhatsApp on these numbers, and wherever you are, our local teams would come and meet with you. So I'd like to thank you all, friends. And Rajkumarji, thank you for coming in. You're from Kolkata and you want to start a business in 30 days. You're okay. Great, Rajkumarji, you want to buy a business in the trading side or any company model. Maybe we can speak one-to-one. We have our office in Salt Lake in Kolkata. One of my team members can perhaps fix up a meeting to discuss. Great. So I'll request anybody who has any other questions, you can always WhatsApp on this number. And before I close, I'll also put maybe a link of a webinar that we're doing today at 7 in the evening. And this is a Navratra special webinar that we have been doing for 9 days, where we bring in almost 5 to 7 opportunities every day. So today we have a webinar where we are bringing about 5 companies. So if you allow me a moment, I will just quickly copy paste the link of that in the chat box, and give me a moment, and it'll just take you a minute to So it starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. ये webinar आज last है. Today being the 9th last day of Navami. So we're bringing in 5 companies, and in this 9 days, we've brought almost about, including today's, 50 odd companies who came and presented their business model. So this starts in the evening. I've put the details in the chat box. It starts at 7 o'clock, would get over by 8:30, about 1.5 hours. So thank you so much, friends, for being with us. And I wish you a very happy Navami. Akashi of Chandigarh se already running a business. Need some new ideas. Okay, great, Akashi. I will have one of my team members. We have our regional head, Shrey, perhaps who can fix up a meeting. We are there just behind Elante Mall is our office where we are. And somebody can absolutely fix up a meeting with you. Great. Thank you so much, friends. If there's anything that you want to know, want to ask, please feel free to reach out to the numbers I have mentioned. Ye evening ka webinar hai. Anybody who wants to attend can copy this link and participate and view. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead. Bye.